Scientists have done a lot of good and great things for us that we should forever be thankful for, like generating enough knowledge to invent vaccines, electricity, the internet, and the tea bag, among other things. They also help us answer big questions, like who our ancestors were, how they lived, and what they believed. So, has science explained everything? Well, no. It hasn't. In this video, we'll look at 15 ancient discoveries that are still beyond science's understanding. By the end of this video, trust us, you'll probably have more questions than answers about our past. Number 15. The Gospel of Eve. Well, it only takes one missing book to change the way we see an entire religion. The Gospel of Eve is a perfect example. We know it once existed, but no complete copy has ever been found. Its entire survival depends on a man who wanted it destroyed. In the 4th century, Bishop Epiphanius of Salamis wrote a catalogue attacking beliefs he considered heretical. While condemning a Gnostic group known as the Fabianites, he quoted a short passage from their sacred text. "I am you, and you are me. I am sown in all things." Those few words are all that remain. Ironically, the book survived only because its enemy preserved part of it while arguing against it. Then, in 1945, the discovery of the Nag Hammadi library proved that many banned Gnostic writings had escaped destruction after being buried in sealed jars for centuries. The Gospel of Eve wasn't among them. That raises an obvious question. If other forbidden books survived by chance, why didn't this one? Was it simply lost to time, or did someone make absolutely certain it would never be read again? Well, it's more mysterious than the Codex Gigas. Number 14. The Vulture Stone of Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe has been rewriting history ever since archaeologists realized what it really was. Long before Stonehenge, long before the Egyptian pyramids, people who supposedly lived as simple hunter-gatherers were hauling limestone pillars weighing up to 20 tons onto a hilltop in southeastern Turkey. They weren't building houses or city walls. They were creating one of the oldest ritual complexes on Earth. Among those pillars, one has attracted more attention than all the others combined. Archaeologists call it the Vulture Stone. Carved across its surface are a vulture, a scorpion, a crane, a fox, a headless man, and several other creepy figures arranged with care. For years, they were treated as little more than religious imagery. Then, in 2017, experts Martin Sweatman and Dimitrios Tsikritsis suggested something very different. They argued that the animals match constellations and may record the sky as it appeared around 10,950 BC, close to the beginning of the Younger Dryas. Whether that idea is correct is still debated. The bigger question is why the people who built Göbekli Tepe later buried the entire complex. Number 13. The Astronaut King. Back in 1952. Mexican archaeologist Alberto Ruiz Lullier stepped into a chamber no one had entered for well over 1,000 years. Hidden deep inside the Temple of the Inscriptions at Palenque was the tomb of Kinik Janab Pakal, the greatest ruler the Maya city had ever known. But it wasn't the king himself that sparked decades of debate. It was the enormous 5-ton stone lid covering his sarcophagus. Stretching nearly 4 meters long, the carving shows Pakal leaning backward with bent knees, both hands positioned around what many people insist resembles the controls of a machine. Mayan scholars identify the surrounding symbols as the world tree, the entrance to Xibalba, and the king's journey into the afterlife, an interpretation strongly supported by Maya religion. Even so, the composition refuses to stop attracting attention. No other known Maya sarcophagus is carved quite like it. Whether it depicts a sacred journey or simply creates an illusion that our modern minds interpret differently, the image continues to divide opinion more than 70 years after it was uncovered. Number 12. The alchemical library of Diocletian. It wasn't temples or churches that Emperor Diocletian ordered destroyed in Alexandria during 296 C. His attention was fixed on something far more unusual: books. After crushing an Egyptian revolt, he commanded Roman officials to seize every manuscript teaching the ancient art of producing gold and silver. According to the Byzantine encyclopedia known as the Suda, he feared that such knowledge could generate enough wealth to fund another rebellion against Rome. The empire's economy was already collapsing under inflation and a currency that had lost most of its silver, making the order seem practical. But one detail refuses to fit. 2 alchemical papyri discovered centuries later inside a sealed tomb still preserve detailed recipes for producing convincing imitation gold and silver. They survived only because they had never reached the libraries searched by Roman soldiers. The books that disappeared were different. Later alchemists repeatedly complained that the theoretical writings explaining the principles behind Egyptian alchemy had vanished forever. If counterfeit metals were the real danger, why destroy the knowledge instead of the recipes? Well, that question has never been answered. Number 11. Goggle-eyed dog terracotta figurines have been found all over the ancient world, but very few look anything like the ones made by Japan's Jomon people. More than 18,000 dog have been recovered across the Japanese islands, yet one particular style continues to leave archaeologists scratching their heads. The best-known example, discovered at Kamigoka in 1887, is only about 34 centimeters tall, but it hardly looks human. Its enormous goggle-shaped eyes cover much of the face, while the rest of the body is divided into neat geometric panels running across the shoulders, arms, chest, hips, and legs. The pattern doesn't resemble the flowing decoration seen on Jomon pottery. It looks deliberate, almost structural. Another curious detail is that these figures weren't simply discarded. Nearly every dog has been intentionally broken before burial, and many fragments have been found far apart from one another. Most archaeologists believe they were used in rituals connected with healing, fertility, or spiritual beliefs. Well, even so, no one on Earth has been able to explain why this unusual design appeared so suddenly. Number 10. The Book of the Wars of the Lord. Most people assume the Bible tells its own story from beginning to end. It doesn't. In the Book of Numbers, while describing the Israelites' journey through the wilderness, the text suddenly pauses and points readers to another source called the Book of the Wars of the Lord. That's where the mystery begins, because nobody has ever found it. The reference appears so naturally that the original audience was clearly expected to know exactly what it was. Scholars believe it may have been an early collection of battle songs and historical records describing Israel's military campaigns long before the biblical text reached its final form. More surprisingly, it isn't the only missing source. The Hebrew Bible refers to more than 20 books that no longer exist, including the Book of Jasher and the Acts of Solomon. Even the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, containing hundreds of ancient manuscripts, failed to produce a single fragment of them. If the biblical writers relied on earlier documents while composing scripture, what stories, events, or details disappeared when those older books stopped being copied? Number 9. The Electric Temple. The Temple of Hathor at Dendera is one of Egypt's best preserved temples, but the real mystery isn't above ground. It's hidden inside a series of small underground crypts where several odd reliefs are carved into the stone walls. They show large oval objects containing long serpents, each linked to a jed pillar by what looks like a supporting arm. Egyptologists have a simple explanation. The oval represents a lotus flower, the serpent symbolizes creation, and the jed stands for Osiris and stability. Within Egyptian religion, that interpretation makes sense. Even so, another theory has refused to disappear. In 1966, Austrian engineer Walter Garn built a model based on the carvings and argued they closely resembled an electrical discharge lamp, with the serpent positioned like a glowing filament inside a glass bulb. Most experts reject that idea. Even so, one question remains. These crypts show little soot, despite the detailed carvings covering walls that would have taken years to complete. How were they illuminated while the work was being done? Number 8. The library of Ashurbanipal's inner vault. Most ancient kings collected gold, weapons, or conquered lands. Ashurbanipal wanted something far more valuable: knowledge. During the 7th century BC, the Assyrian ruler ordered scribes across Mesopotamia to gather every important text they could find, from medicine and astronomy to royal history and ancient religious traditions. In his own inscriptions, he proudly claimed to have studied even the oldest writings, including tablets that supposedly came from a world that existed before the Great Flood. Those weren't ordinary records. They formed part of a special collection kept inside a separate archive within his palace at Nineveh. When British archaeologists uncovered the famous library in the 19th century, they recovered around 30,000 clay tablet fragments, including the Epic of Gilgamesh, whose flood story predates the biblical account by roughly 1,000 years. Yet scholars believe the king's private archive was never completely explored. After years of war, looting, and destruction around Nineveh, nobody knows what may still lie beneath the ruins, or whether the very tablets Ashurbanipal considered his greatest treasures have already been lost forever. Now let's move to number 7. Golden altar of Sant'Ambrogio. Gold has always been difficult to work with, which is why this altar continues to puzzle experts more than 1,000 years after it was finished. Standing inside the Basilica of Sant'Ambrogio in Milan, the masterpiece dates to around 825 CE and is covered with incredibly thin layers of gold bonded so perfectly to the carved surface that even modern specialists admire the workmanship. Gilding itself wasn't new. Ancient civilizations had practiced it for centuries. What surprises researchers is the quality achieved here. The finish is so refined that reproducing it exactly with modern techniques remains remarkably difficult. The same knowledge that allowed skilled craftsmen to create breathtaking religious art also found its way into forgery. Thin layers of gold or silver could disguise cheaper metals so convincingly that buyers believed they were purchasing solid precious objects. That raises an interesting question. If medieval artisans understood these techniques so well over 1,000 years ago, where did that expertise come from? Number 6. Kish tablet. Every language ever spoken had to begin somewhere. Long before books, alphabets, or even recognizable letters existed, someone picked up a tool and pressed symbols into a small limestone tablet from the ancient city of Kish in what is now Iraq. More than 5,000 years later, that tablet may represent humanity's earliest known attempt at writing. Archaeologists date it to the Uruk period, although reports differ on whether it was discovered in 1923 or 1933. The marks carved across its surface belong to what scholars call proto-cuneiform, the earliest stage of a writing system that would eventually become cuneiform. The frustrating part is that nobody can confidently read it. Unlike later cuneiform, proto-cuneiform remains only partly understood, leaving the tablet's message locked away. It could record a trade transaction, a list of goods, or something entirely different. Nobody knows. It's strange to think that the oldest surviving written message in human history is also one of the few that still refuses to tell us what it was trying to say. Number 5. Selva di Milano. Some ancient places don't need giant pyramids or towering temples to leave an impression. A few weathered stones in the middle of a quiet forest can sometimes feel even stranger. That's exactly the feeling people get when they visit Selva di Milano in northern Italy. Surrounded by trees and covered in moss, the site is filled with carved stairways, stone platforms, and massive altars cut directly into volcanic rock. Most archaeologists believe the Etruscans created them long before Rome dominated the region, but that's where the certainty ends. The best-known monument is the so-called Preacher's Stone, although a large square altar nearby attracts even more attention. A staircase leads to its top, where a cross has been carved into the surface. Oddly enough, many researchers don't believe it has anything to do with Christianity and instead suspect it may have marked astronomical events. The Romans later built tombs around the site, showing they also considered it important, yet they never explained why. Whatever ceremonies once took place here disappeared along with the people who understood them. Number 4. Funerary altar. For Valeria Laeta, some discoveries wait centuries for the right moment to appear. This one surfaced because construction workers were replacing water pipes beneath a street in Rome. More than 6 feet below the modern roadway, they uncovered a beautifully carved marble funerary altar dating to the 2nd century. An inscription identifies it as a memorial for a girl named Valeria Laeta, who lived for just 13 years and 7 months. Beyond that simple fact, almost everything else about her has been lost. The white marble altar is decorated with birds and baskets overflowing with fruit, symbols commonly associated with abundance and hope in the Roman world. Part of the inscription includes the initials PF, but scholars still disagree about their exact meaning, although many believe the F stands for Philia, meaning daughter. Strangely, no human remains were discovered beside the monument, leaving archaeologists unsure where Valeria was actually buried. Nearly 2,000 years later, her name has survived. But not her story. Number 3. Gundestrup cauldron silver usually survives the centuries surprisingly well. But very little from the Iron Age compares with the Gundestrup cauldron. Discovered in pieces inside a peat bog in Denmark in 1891, this remarkable vessel was carefully reconstructed and remains the largest known example of Iron Age silverwork ever found in Europe. It measures roughly 27 inches across and stands about 17 inches high, yet its size is only part of the story. Every panel is covered with beautifully hammered figures created using the repousse technique before being finished with gilding and glass inlays. Looking closely, the artwork becomes even more puzzling. Some scenes resemble Celtic mythology, while others seem influenced by Thracian craftsmanship or even motifs from the Near East. That unusual combination has left archaeologists debating where it was actually made and how it eventually reached Scandinavia. Was it a ceremonial vessel, a religious object, or a symbol of political power? Well, no one knows the actual truth. Number 2. Tarbagatai Mountain Gold Hoard. Finding a single ancient gold ornament is enough to excite archaeologists. Finding more than 3,000 of them changes everything. That's what happened in 2018 when researchers working in Kazakhstan's Tarbagatai Mountains uncovered an extraordinary cache of Saka gold dating back about 2,800 years. Archaeologists believe the treasure once belonged to a powerful Saka ruler, one of the nomadic peoples who controlled the Eurasian steppe long before written history reached the region. The sheer quantity of gold is impressive. But the real surprise came after the pieces were examined more closely. Some of the tiny beads had been joined using micro-soldering, a level of precision nobody expected from craftsmen living on the open steppe nearly 3 millennia ago. These weren't ordinary ornaments either. Most were designed to decorate ceremonial clothing worn by the elite. The gold may have come from nearby sources, but nobody can explain how these craftsmen mastered techniques that appear centuries ahead of their time. Sometimes the greatest mystery isn't the treasure itself, it's the knowledge needed to create it. Number 1. Augsburg Cathedral murals. Sometimes the biggest archaeological discovery isn't something new at all. Sometimes it's something that people have been walking past for centuries without realizing its true value. The murals inside Augsburg Cathedral in Germany were first uncovered during restoration work in the 1930s, but for decades nobody could say exactly when they had been painted. That mystery wasn't finally settled until late 2020, when scientific testing confirmed they were created about 1,000 years ago. That makes them the oldest surviving medieval church paintings anywhere on the German side of the Alps. Although time has taken its toll, enough of the artwork remains to recognize scenes from the life of John the Baptist as described in the Bible. Historians believe the paintings were covered up centuries ago, probably as the cathedral changed over time, allowing them to escape complete destruction. Unfortunately, one mural is thought to have been lost forever during the construction of a Gothic window long before anyone realized what lay beneath. Well, that's all from us. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.